Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Just a Bit Outside, presented by WaFd Bank. Join a best bank at wafdbank.com. I'm Michelle Ledka. A great show this week. I catch up with local musician Aaron Crawford as he tells me what he did to try and get a Steve Largent autograph. Plus, Aaron Levine is breaking down the big dance with all his picks for the tournament, so get your bracket ready. But we start things off by checking in with our experts as they weigh in on this week's hot topics from the sidelines.
Joining us now, Q13's Aaron Levine, the Kraken's Everett Fitzhughes, and from Cube 93, the Wake Up Show, the one and only Strawberry. Guys, thanks so much for joining us to give us your hot takes from the sidelines.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
So fun. First of all, happy St. Patrick's Day. We're obviously taping on St. Patrick's Day. I see a little bit of green there, Strawberry. Way to represent. Just a little bit. Super fun. Obviously, I wish we were all having, a nice Guinness together or something in honor of this lovely holiday. But I will start with that for our first topic because just in the last week, Climate Pledge Arena announced their partnership with Coors. I'm personally a huge Coors fan. I'm very excited about this, but it got me thinking, what is your go-to snack or beverage of choice when watching sporting events? And if that, do you think will alter when you're specifically watching hockey?
I'm already a Coors Light guy, so when I found out about that partnership, I was already on cloud nine anyway. So yeah, I think Coors Light, as far as food goes, I mean, I should be healthier, but I mean, nothing beats like nachos or some wings or, I've heard that Seattle ranks like all-time top 5 in like best ballpark food in Major League Baseball. So I'm looking forward to eating all the unhealthy snacks down at T-Mobile. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm going to challenge Everett on this one, actually. It's 2021. I don't compare venues to the standards. I don't look for hot dogs, nachos, or popcorn. I want something beyond. Like T-Mobile has the best crab sandwiches in all of Major League Baseball.
Crab sandwich, like an actual crab sandwich.
Giants in San Francisco have garlic fries, which are unmatched. So I'm looking for even the place in the Dodger Stadium. Don't they have like a helmet full of ice cream, like 12 scoops of ice cream? That's the next level stuff that I'm looking for. Wings was a good idea, Everett. I like that you brought up wings. Wings is a good one.
Didn't T-Mobile Park still have? Do they still have crickets that you can eat too? Because they had that a couple years ago, right? I mean,
that was just like terrible. Let's be real. That was a terrible idea.
And I know they still have sushi. I just don't know if they still have the Ichi roll like they used to as well. But I mean, yes, you have a plethora of options in terms of. Drinks, though, I'm going to be honest, I legitimately have no idea because I'm normally watching sports at work. So there's no kicking back and enjoying a beer. I mean, Michelle will remember this. The Seahawks played on Thanksgiving back in, I think, 2013, and it was an NBC game. And it was one of the only Thanksgiving I had a chance to go home because Apple Cup seems to be the day after Thanksgiving every single year. And we broadcast that. So that's the last Seahawks game I've been able to sit on a couch, kick back, enjoy a beer. And I remember whatever beer that was, it was so good. It was an eerie feeling, but it was refreshing. So I'm going to say one cold beer. And then I'm a traditionalist, though, at the ballpark. Give me a good hot dog, a Dodger dog, because I'm from LA originally. Hot dog at T-Mobile Park, and I'm good to go.
Okay.
See, and I'm excited to see once we get players for the Kraken if they do any like special things, because like I always loved was CenturyLink Field, now Lumen Field, when they had like the Beastquake burger that came with like Skittles and it was like so huge and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what kind of like creativity comes out, because that's always the fun part about stadium food.
You have to have octopus something, right, in honor of the Kraken? I mean, whether it's
calamari?
Actual octopus or something like
a little calamari bar, I can get down with that.
Yeah, there we go.
Did you actually see at the Space Needle, this is totally off topic, but I saw the Space Needle just announced like a new drink that you can get up in their new bar up at the top that kind of, overlooks the arena. And it's like this Kraken shaped octopus glass.
Wow.
So just saying.
Everett, steal that. Everett, steal that for the team. Bring the idea to Climate Pledge. That'll be on you.
I might run down there. My sister-in-law's in town for the week. We may go take a tour of the Space Needle, and one might come up missing. Who knows?
I love that. Okay, well, sticking with hockey, this one I think is kind of like fun and silly. And the way I got here is on our next question is earlier this week, I did an interview with the Sounders goalkeeper, Stefan Fry, which you can catch this Sunday on Q It Up Sports with Aaron Levine. But Steph was telling me how growing up, he's obviously a soccer goalkeeper, but he was a diehard hockey fan and he loved playing hockey way more than he loved soccer. And he was super into it and all that stuff. And it got me thinking, if you could pick one athlete from another sport to join the Kraken, who would it be?
Well, first off, you don't want to see me. We tried that with the Everett Silvertips a few years ago. I think my legs are still sore from trying to play goalie with all of that gear on. I'm actually going to go with any of those Olympic figure skaters because they're already incredible skaters. I think there was a scene, remember in one of those Mighty Ducks movies where a figure skater joins the team and she's out there doing spins and turns. I'm kind of curious how like Christy Yamaguchi or Michelle Kwan or Brian Boitano, Tanya Harding, she'd be good out there, right? Playing with all that hockey gear on in a game. And if skating wasn't a prerequisite, I'd probably want to go back to see more of Marshawn Lynch on the ice like he was a few months ago. He's
my idea.
Watch in any environment. That's just another one of them. Beast mode to crease mode, put him in goal at the center line, let the guy do his thing. I'm sure that would be pretty awesome to see too.
Yeah, I was going to say Marshawn also, but I also like going with the train wreck idea. Somebody completely a fish out of water like Shaquille O'Neal, somebody who has no business on a pair of ice skates, 7 feet above the ice. Like I'm going Shaq or Marshawn on this one.
See, I'm with both of you. I love personality, and I would go someone who's going to have a good time. I'm going Rob Gronkowski.
That's who I was going to say.
I feel like Gronk on skates, Gronk at a rink. Oh, like sell tickets for that alone. So, yeah, I was going to say Marshawn. You took Marshawn. Shaq's a good one, but I'm going to go Gronk.
I was going to go Gronk. I was going to go Gronk too, Everett, because I've heard, and obviously we haven't had an NHL team ever here in Seattle, but I've heard, and no offense to the other sports, I've heard NHL players are the coolest, like the most fun. And I feel like Gronk would fit perfectly in with that.
He would fit in with the hockey culture. Yeah. Like the hockey, because he's already he's just very fun and very loose, and he's not afraid to have a good time on the field and celebrate. I think he would fit into a hockey locker room very, very well.
Well, on to our next topic, kind of sticking with those lines of kind of, I guess, being a fish out of water or whoever you want to emulate. Earlier this week, news came out that Tiger Woods signed a new video game deal, kind of bringing back the whole aspect of being able to play as him and go into Tiger Woods mode on the video game. Now, there's obviously so many different video games out there where you can essentially like be people. But to my knowledge, this is the only version where you can actually go into that extra mode. If you could pick another athlete to go into their mode, like LeBron mode or Ken Griffey Jr. mode or whatever, who would that be? Sue Bird mode? Like, who do you think would have a cool video game like that?
I think you got to go with the cheat codes. Who is just outstanding in their field? Is it Tom Brady? Are you playing Steph Curry? LeBron would be a good one. I mean, playing as Tiger Woods in a golf video game, that's the cheat code right there. You just have to go for the Mount Rushmore of the athlete in that sport.
I'm with them on this one, but I'm going to take it a step further. I would go one of the greatest, like Brady, LeBron, Jordan, whatever, but I would want to get in their head mentally and just hear them trash talk what they're seeing. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm Tom Brady. I'm lining up at the line. I'm like, can you believe this coverage? Oh, they have no idea what I'm about to do to them, do they? They have no idea. Like, I would just love for the smack talk to go into their heads. So I'm with you on that one.
I'm so far out of the video game loop. I didn't even know you couldn't play like Tiger Woods in the most recent versions. But yeah, I think everybody should be able to play like Tiger Woods in the game. One of my biggest criticisms, you guys remember Mike Tyson's Punch Out back in the day? Maybe I'm aging myself here, but I guess Tyson was too difficult to beat. That was my one criticism. And second, correct me if I'm wrong, but since he was always on the computer side, you could never play as Mike Tyson himself. So, if I could pick one athlete to play like in a video game, I want to make a stipulation here. I think this would have to be like a 3D video game where you put me in the middle of the action, kind of allow me to experience exactly what that athlete is seeing around him and at the same pace. But if that's the case, I would go with Wayne Gretzky in his prime. And I think, because watching them do great stuff is one thing, but to be able to immerse yourself in their world and kind of understand the speeds that they're going at and be able to execute that at a really high level, that's what I would want to experience. And I love Everett saying, I want to get into his head, and with the smack talk also, then you get the real experience there. I think we would all have a better appreciation for some of the best athletes of all time.
Man, Aaron did his homework for that question. Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
You were hitting the books last night, weren't you, for this show?
Well, I grew up with Gretzky down in LA also. I was a big Kings fan. You go back to the Kings and Canadians in 1993. That brings me back to my fifth grade years. And there was such a big vibe in LA when they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. Of course, they lost in that Stanley Cup Finals as well, unfortunately.
I just think we might have just come up with like our next like big ticket idea. Like, should we actually like make this like a self-immersion video game where like players are talking through their stuff? Like, should we make this happen?
Yeah.
Virtual reality, I mean, it's coming along, right? I mean, how many people have the helmets and the everything's 1-to-1, you can move. So I mean, it's on the way.
Okay, we have less than 24 hours to copyright or patent this, guys, before this idea goes out to the world. But so if you're listening, don't steal our idea. Last topic, obviously the major sport line this week is the men's NCAA tournament starts on Thursday. I want to know, are you big March Madness fans? Are you filling out a bracket? Is it as exciting as years past? Because obviously we didn't get it last year. And if so, like, are you picking a winner? Who do you think is going to be the Cinderella story? Are you getting excited?
I went to San Jose State, and so there was never a lot of sports to cheer for. So because of that, I figured I missed out on all the college athletic, enjoyment. That being said, I do love a good long shot, a good underdog Cinderella story. So anytime that can happen, whether it's March Madness or the Olympics or even the Buccaneers this year with Tom Brady, I love the come from behind underdog story across the board. So if that happens, I'm in.
Yeah, this is like the only time that I really get into college basketball. And like Strawberry, I went to Bowling Green. So again, not a whole lot of success there. Yeah. I guess my big team is Michigan, but Isaiah Livers is out for an extended period of time. So I don't know how that's going to be, but they are the number 1 seed. I just enjoy watching those smaller teams get their moment on the national stage. You know, you've got, I think, Eastern Washington, this is their first trip ever to the tournament. So right there, I mean, I'm getting them through just because, I want to see them do well. Steph Curry, when he was at Davidson, no one expected Davidson, and look what happened. So I'm with you. I think if we can get, especially with Duke and Kentucky not in it this year, this is the year for someone to finally stake their claim to a championship that probably normally wouldn't win one.
Yeah, and that's great. And I love the fact that we even have a tournament this year, because a year ago, I mean, it's just, you don't have a tournament, all of a sudden you miss it. And the fact that we'll be able to have it, even though all those games are going to be in the Indianapolis metro area, we'll still be able to see all of them on TV. You're going to see a lot of my underdog picks later in the show when I go through the whole bracket, Michelle. But here's what I'm looking for in general: teams that have been affected in some way, shape, or form by the COVID virus, like Kansas. Like Kansas going to be missing a star freshman because of a positive test, or Virginia, who had issues going back to last week, Georgia Tech. A lot of these teams where players have to isolate or sit out games. If you're not at full strength, you might not be able to play up to the seed that you received. And that becomes a big advantage for some of the underdogs in this tournament. Everett mentioned Eastern Washington. That's who plays Kansas this week. So keep an eye on the Eagles in the first round. I'm going to say it now, though, if they don't have any COVID issues, Gonzaga is the best team in this tournament. They are going to go 6-0. They will win the championship.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be unreal? That would be just so incredible to watch. And personally, like, obviously there won't be, the fanfare and all that kind of stuff. But like, I'm excited to see who creeps through as like pop culture's favorite. Because wasn't there like a sister or a nun or something like that was a couple years ago everyone got so excited about? And so like, I'm excited to see like those characters, those come through, because it's definitely something fun, excited to be cheering about, this time of the year.
Loyola, I think that was the school.
Yes.
I think
good
that's
call
right
there. And then it's always nice seeing what Ashley Judd's always there for Kentucky. You're not going to get that fan aspect this year, but you love those storylines. I love that you brought up Loyola Chicago because that was a lot of fun to watch a couple years ago. Watch Loyola Chicago this year. I think they pull a couple upsets along the way.
And Aaron already teased it, but stay tuned for later in our show. He's got a full bracket down. So if you haven't filled yours out yet, get your bracket ready, get ready to go. But guys, this was so fun. Thanks so much for hanging out with us and talking random topics. Always a pleasure. And let's get started on our business ideas.
Yes.
Thanks.
Next up, he's a country music artist that calls the Pacific Northwest home. We're celebrating a new album release for the Snohomish High School alumni, plus how his love of sports transfers into his music and beyond. Here's Cascade country artist Aaron Crawford.
Aaron, it's so wonderful to see you. This has been such a crazy year, and usually, you know, I try and catch you at local concerts and things like that, or different stages outside of concerts with, you know, local radio stations, but we have had none of that in 2020, now into 2021. How are you, my friend?
We're climbing out. I'm doing great. You know, I missed all those things that you just mentioned, and it's great to see you too. Thank you for having me on. But yeah, it was one of those where I was like, oh, this is going to be a short little sabbatical, like forced. This is going to be great. I'm going to get time to just like hang with the family, maybe enjoy a summer that I normally am just really busy and gone a lot. And then it just kept dragging, and it was like, oh no, here comes dark winter. So, you know, now it's just like we're climbing out. Shows are starting to come back. So yeah, I'm in a good spot. I'm doing great.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that you and the family are well. Take me through this year. I mean, were you able to work on your music? Obviously, you just released a new album, which we'll get to, but how did you, aside from family time, get through this year? Did you work on writing songs? Did you do virtual concerts? Anything like that?
It was, this year we were set up for just like, it was like on a tee. Like, here's a ball, we're going to smash this. This is out of here. It's going to be a home run. Not to like get too sportsy metaphor on this show, but we had built up to this album. I was in Tampa recording it. It was going to release in May, and we had booked up the whole summer. I usually do about 100 shows a year, and we had booked up about that many already, and a couple runs kind of out of state, and just building. We were so proud of these songs. I'd written 50 songs for this record, and then we kind of culled it down to 11. And then when we were coming back from Tampa Bay, it was right when they were just kind of shutting things down, and it was like, oh, it'll be fine. Like I said, I'll just take some time, and then we'll get right back to it. And then it just kept dragging and dragging. And May 9th came and went; it was gone. And then you're trying to book shows, and just the hopes that things would happen again. And then you finally just come to the realization that it's going to be a little bit. And talk to some friends that were in the medical field. I was like, what's going to happen? And they're like, well, it's probably going to be about spring of 21 until things start to look kind of normal. So that's just kind of where it landed for us. And so we thought, let's hold on to the record for a little bit. And that was hard because it was done.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where like, okay, we're doing some shows, we're seeing some things. Let's get this record out and let people get to know it. So that's kind of where we ended up.
And it's a fantastic record. It's called Honky Tonk Electricity. If you're a country music fan at all, you've got to check this out. Aaron, take me through kind of your inspiration behind this album.
Yeah, for this album, I really, in the past, I've gone to Nashville and I've written with people. I've written with a lot of different co-writers. And this one, I really wanted to be very much me. But I also wanted it to be very diverse. And so even in writing the songs and then picking the songs, you know, if I saw a couple that were too close to each other, I was like, okay, we'll just pick the best one. The other one's got to go away because I don't want you to hit play and it just sounds like one whole thing. And so I very much was like, okay, all of these are parts of me. And pretty much every song is a relation to me somehow. And so it was just really fun to kind of craft it and even listen back to it and just be like, yeah, I'm proud of that. That's diverse, but it's me.
And what I love about your music is the first time I heard this was a couple years ago at your last album release party in Tacoma years ago now, that you've coined the term Cascade Country, which I love because you're Pacific Northwest. Yes, you're Pacific Northwest through and through. How much pride do you take in I mean, your talents? If anyone listens to you, I mean, you could take this anywhere, but it sounds like you really pride yourself on delivering this beautiful music to the community that you're a part of.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Yeah, I thought about moving to Nashville, and I met with a few people, and you know, everybody at like this height, like the 30,000 level, was like, "Don't do that." All the people like peer wise were like, "Yeah, come on, man, it's gonna be a blast. Come down here." And so I kind of listened, for better or for worse, to you know the higher wisdom, and thought, if I can just go back and I started off, I was in my buddy's, I was living with him, and I put a big map of the Northwest on the wall. And it went all the way down to like Redding, California. That's not Northwest, but it was just kind of that frame. And I put a pin in Seattle, And I know that Sacramento was 12 hours. And so I drew a string and I put a pencil, and then I just drew a radius. And I said, I'm going to take everything in here. I'm going to stay in this area, and I'm just going to play as much in here as I can and try and build a name for myself in this spot. And so that's kind of where Cascade Country came from. I thought, Nashville has their thing, and even like Texas with like Red Dirt Music, they have their own sound. And I thought, well, what if we could have our own sound up here that was like, took influences from grunge and like kind of that past music scene, and even now like the new stuff with like Alan Stone and Macklemore and those guys, and taking that influence, right, and putting it into some of it. So that was the whole thought process behind it, and just giving it something for the Northwest to be proud of, because you very well know all the stuff behind you. When we find something that we're proud of, we just like claws in, here we go, we're supporting this wholeheartedly, right? Mm-hmm. And so I thought if I could build that, then that's kind of what I wanted to do.
Absolutely. And that is something, like, I'm so glad you pointed out, because that is something that I think is so special about this part of the country, and the ownership and the pride we take in our community, our musicians, our sports teams. And you're a big football fan, correct? You're a big Seahawks fan?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I actually got to, it was a few years ago now, but I played right at like, the North Steps out of CenturyLink. And it was Steve Largent and Jim Zorn were sitting down signing autographs. And I'm playing a show, and I have a Largent jersey on. And I'm like, Carrie, which is my wife. I'm like, Carrie, you have to get this signed. She's like, take it off. So I'm like playing a song, take my guitar off. I'm singing. I'm ripping off my jersey and throwing it at her to try and get it signed by Steve Largent. And they ended up wrapping up before I could get it, which is a sad end to that story. But yeah, big. I remember going to like Pietro's Pizza with my grandma and watching the Seahawks games, like my corduroy hat, and just watching them be so terrible for all those years. So yeah, we're in the golden age right now.
I know, true fan. It's like we're all about new fans too. But you and me, we're kindred spirits in the sense of we've been through the muck with some of our teams, and we're gonna have to see what we can do about getting Steve Largent to get your jersey signed. But that is so fun.
Yes, that'd be great.
Right? We got to do that. We've got to do that. And obviously, really exciting news recently come out with us moving forward with the phases and everything as we battle COVID. Sporting events are coming back. Fans are going to be able to start coming back from that. When you heard that news, obviously, I want to know your thoughts about it when it came to music and everything. But first thought, the thought is, oh, fans can be in the stands. Like, what was the thought to you when you're like, oh, maybe I can go to a Seahawks game this next year?
Terrifying for one, because it's like you guys have probably done the same thing where you're watching a lot of Netflix and all these shows that are recorded either before COVID or in the middle of COVID, and they're just not paying attention to it. And you're like, oh, those people shouldn't be that close together. What are they doing? This is making me uncomfortable. How are they doing this? So yeah, immediately my first thought, I think, okay, my brother and I were in the Hawks Nest when Marshawn came back. And he scored that touchdown in that north end zone, and we actually cried. We're like hugging each other, and like, because that's our thing together, is just we love the Seahawks. And so thinking about that in the middle of this, I'm like, oh well, yeah, sure, why not? So yeah, I'm pumped to be able to see it and to be able to get back to going to some games. I was even talking to Carrie about missing just even going to the Rainiers games. To me, those are just so fun, just to go hang out. And I've done the national anthem there a couple times, and just to be able to have that environment, and especially with the kids, to be able to get them to go to that. So
that's so true. And I get everything you're saying, because like my husband and I were huge karaoke people, and we always talk about
really?
We're not good at all.
Well, that's kind of the prerequisite, right? If you're
we can get really into it. The vocals aren't there, but I would say like the performance is usually like a solid like 8 out of 10. But we keep talking about how like karaoke is probably gonna be one of the last things to come back, because like the shared microphones and like all that. And so where are you at with like comfort level of shows? What are you hearing? Like, what are your plans for getting, obviously you have your own microphones, but like what are your plans for bringing music back, live music?
Yeah, it's really exciting, but also like there's a bit of anxiety, because it's like, what does this look like? How much? We had long, hard talks about, I'm sure a lot of you saw some artists were like, you know what, we don't care, we're just going to do it in the middle of this, and there was a lot of backlash there. And we just let it and said, okay, we have a responsibility to our fans to create a safe environment for them. So we definitely pulled back. So now as this is happening, we're like, okay, how much ownership do we take of this venue and say, okay, I know it's your venue, but these are my fans that I care about and I love, so let's make sure that they're safe. So even like March 27th, I'm playing in Ncaa, and it's the Chalet, which is a really cool historic theater. And it's like, okay, I want everyone to be safe, and I know I'm going to be backstage, so I'll be safe. But you just, there's that tentativeness where you're like, well, okay, let's just make sure that people have masks if it's supposed to. And I don't know. It's just a really hard thing to navigate right now, but I'm into navigating it because not doing shows is not good for me.
I can't even imagine. So many people have gone through so much hardship this year and almost like losing parts of their identity, with loss of work and activities and social life and all that stuff. How have you gotten through this? Obviously, you always have music with you, but I can only imagine what your love of performing and sharing your gift is like, and to not be able to do that. How have you kept going?
We started doing like the Facebook live stream thing, and I didn't really get into music to be like a superstar. Like I'd love to get there, but for me, it's not about the adulation and like the fame. For me, it's about getting a room to like gel and like let's go. It's like you talked about like sports stuff, like getting that crowd together and rooting for a song and singing a song together. A lot of the songs I wrote for this new record, I intentionally put O's and things like that people can sing together, so I can get the crowd singing with me. So the Facebook live streams were great, but it was just like, Heart, you're doing great. And I was like, that's not doing it for me. So we did the Zoom things. And to me, that was the best thing that I could have, because I got to see, like we're doing right now, I got to see people's faces. I got to see their reactions. I got to hear them clapping. I got to hear what they thought. They could request songs. And so even this last weekend, I did 4 Zoom album release shows, and they were fantastic. They were all completely different, with different people and different things and different songs. You'd ask people, okay, I'm going to do this whole record from start to finish, but what other songs do you want to hear? And someone would pull one out and you're like, I haven't played that song in a year, so here we go. Let's see how it sounds. So to me, that was the best, like the closest thing of the real thing. And so that helped a lot.
Oh, that's so amazing. Well, and obviously everything moving forward now, we hope, knock on wood, everyone can get vaccinated. We can get through this completely, get back to normalcy. If anyone is out there and they want to check out your new album or any upcoming shows where you could be performing and stuff, what's the best way to find out all things Aaron Crawford?
CrawfordAaronMusic.com will take you to everything, like social media. It'll get you to my calendar. It'll get you to my merch. So there's all those things. That's the home base. But if you're lazy like I am, you can probably just Google my name and like Seattle, and it'll take you to where you want to be, whether you like Instagram, Facebook. I'm just now joining TikTok, which I said I wouldn't do, but I have to apparently. So we're gonna go there.
Aaron, you're cooler than me. I have no idea how TikTok even works. So when you figure it out, you let me know, okay?
When my wife figures it out, she'll let you know.
Oh, so good. Well, Aaron, this has been so much fun. Congratulations again on such a wonderful album. And I can't wait to see you at a show or singing the national anthem at one of our beloved teams, hopefully here soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
And moving right along, we've got a special edition of Against All Odds, and Aaron Levine, he gives us his picks for all the March Madness.
So it takes a while to fill out a bracket. We're going to do this as quickly as possible. Let's start over here in the West region, and I won't beat around the bush. Gonzaga is the best team in this field by far. If they play to their potential, nobody beats them this year. So we move Gonzaga along with Oklahoma. I'm going to go with the Gig Harbor native, the Peninsula High School alum, Ja'Cory McLaughlin, the Big West Player of the Year, to lead UC Santa Barbara, a 12 seed, and upset over the 5 seed Kraken. We will also move Virginia, USC. How about this? I'm going with the Eags, Eastern Washington, in an upset over Kansas. Why? Because the Jayhawks will be without a star freshman because of COVID-19. We've got Oregon here and also Iowa. So we move back to the top. Gonzaga over Oklahoma into the Sweet 16. Virginia over UCSB. USC over Eastern Washington, and Iowa over Oregon. That gives us our Sweet 16 teams. Gonzaga beat Virginia earlier this season. They will do so again, and Iowa into the regional final as well as they beat USC. So let's go back here, and now we go to the East region where Michigan is the top seed. I really like Michigan because of its head coach. Who is that? It's Juwan Howard, a former member of the Fab Five back in the day. So you take them along with St. Bonaventure. Now, Georgetown. I love the Hoyas. I love that Patrick Ewing has them back in the big dance. But I hate teams that are coming off of such an unexpected tournament win like they did in the Big East. You worry about focus. So take Colorado there. I also have Florida State moving on, Brigham Young, that's BYU, Texas, Maryland in a mini upset, and then Alabama over Iona. So we move back to the top here. I got Michigan, then Colorado. And how about this? I'll take the 6 seed over the 3 seed. Why? Because BYU looked so good against Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference Championship game in Las Vegas last week. And then I like Alabama over Maryland. So now we go to the Sweet 16. I will take Michigan over Colorado. Let's try that again here. And I like Alabama over Brigham Young. And this is the toughest part of the touchscreen right here. There they are. There are your teams in the regional final. So now let's come on back here to the South region. And we're going to go all chalk, by the way, here. Top-seeded Baylor moves on. North Carolina is the 8 seed over Wisconsin. Villanova over Winthrop. No 5-12 upset there. Purdue. Now, stick with me because I'm not going chalk for the entire region. We're taking Texas Tech and Arkansas, Florida, and Ohio State. So we move back to the top. Baylor moves on over North Carolina. I like Villanova in a mini upset over Purdue, the 5 seed over the 4 seed. I also like Texas Tech over Arkansas here, and I like Florida over Ohio State. If you take a look at the Buckeyes, take a look at their schedule. They had 4 straight losses to end their regular season. I really don't buy them as a number 2 seed. And then another upset with Villanova topping Baylor. They are into the regional final here. The Villanova Wildcats, Jay Wright has his team. Oh, that's okay. That stays there. That's good. An unorthodox bracket here with Villanova and Texas Tech moving on as well into the regional final as Texas Tech beats the 7th seed Florida in the Sweet 16. If we can move them on in this bracket. Touchscreen giving me a hard time here. I'm going to try it one more time. There you go. So let's move on back to the last region here, and that is the Midwest. Top-seeded Illinois. Then Loyola Chicago moving on over Georgia Tech as the 8 seed. I love Oregon State winning the Pac-12 tournament. Like I said with Georgetown, a little bit too much celebration for them, so I will take Tennessee here. No 5-12 upset. Oklahoma State over Liberty. We've got Syracuse in a mini upset over San Diego State, the 11 seed over the 6 seed. West Virginia moves on along with Clemson and Houston. So we move back to the top here. Illinois and Loyola Chicago, probably the biggest upset of the tournament. I'm taking Loyola Chicago, which made waves a few years ago, winning state bragging rights right there over Illinois. I like Tennessee over Oklahoma State, West Virginia over Syracuse, and Clemson over Houston in an upset, a 7 seed over a 2 seed. So a little wacky Midwest region going on. Then we've got Tennessee over Loyola of Chicago moving to the regional final. Again, this is always the tough part of the touchscreen here. If it wants to stay, we're going to get it to work. There you go. And then we like West Virginia, the 3 seed, over Clemson. So now we go back and we have all of the regional finalists. Let's head to the regional finals and find our final 4 here. The Elite 8, Gonzaga beat Iowa earlier this year. They will do so in the West Region final. They are our first Final 4 team. If we can get them to move in here in the West Region. There we go. Okay, Michigan topping Bama in the East right here. It's going to be a Michigan and Gonzaga final in the regional final and the national semifinal here in the Final 4. Villanova is a 5 seed, and I think we lost Villanova back here, so let's go back to this over here. We've got in the South region Villanova passing, so we need to make sure that they are in here. There we go. We come back here. We'll go back to the regional finals. Villanova topping Texas Tech in one other regional final here in the South, and I have West Virginia, a 3 seed, taking the Midwest region, and now you have your Final 4. Villanova, West Virginia, the 5 seed, the 3 seed, and 2 number 1 seeds from the West and the East. What are we going to do? I'm going to take the Zags over Michigan in one of those finals. I like West Virginia over Villanova in the other semifinal, which gives us a rematch of that great Sweet 16 game back in 2017 between Gonzaga and West Virginia. The Zags survived that game. They will survive this championship game as well. It's Gonzaga over West Virginia, as Gonzaga wins its first national title, becoming the first team since Indiana in 1976 to go undefeated through the regular season and the postseason as well. Good luck to everyone on their brackets.
Thanks, Aaron. Well, that does it for this episode of Just a Bit Outside, presented by WaFd Bank. Join a best bank. Remember, you can find all the episodes at justabitoutside.fox and wherever you subscribe to your podcasts, including Apple and Spotify. A huge thanks to Strawberry, Everett, and Aaron for joining us on the show. For Aaron Levine and our entire production crew, I'm Michelle Ledka. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week.